Get me that 6. We need more power.
All right, we're at Origins with Wizkids Games. I'm talking with Scott DiAugustino again. Scott,
hi,
good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
What I would like to know, as what I always want to know, is, okay, so we haven't talked at least since last Gen Con.
Sure.
So what has been going on with Wizkids in the past, say, 10 months?
Well, I think the biggest news over the past 10 months is that 2017 for us is actually the 15th anniversary of HeroClix. It started in 2002. Technically it was 2001, but it was like December, but we're going with 2002 as our full year. So we're celebrating that, and I can talk about a few of that product. And then the other thing we were just talking about beforehand is we brought on Zed Schlesinger to head up our board games division. So we have a lot of new products coming out, a lot of new board games coming out.
I see, there's a lot of board games in this.
So we'll take a look at those as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, board games has always been something that we've done throughout the years, but we just haven't had you know, a huge number of releases any given year. But in the past couple of months, we've come out with 4 new games, and then we've got a new slate of about 5 or 6 that are coming out in the next couple of months. So he's really
that's really like the most I've seen from you guys pretty much ever.
Yeah. So we've got a lot new exciting games coming up.
All right, it's exciting. We're gonna see.
So yeah, go back to what we talked about for HeroClix here. It's our 15th anniversary, and one of the things that we have done over the course of the summer to celebrate 15th anniversary is that we have 2 sets coming out, one for Marvel, one for DC. The Marvel one is a What If set based on the What If comics that are all sort of alternate universe.
I thought almost everybody had forgotten about the What If.
Oh yeah, well, so it's something that we've always wanted to do. It's all alternate versions, sort of alternate reality. You know, what if this, you know, if this happened to this storyline or this character. So we came out with a set of that, and then we're also doing for DC Elseworlds. So Elseworlds is sort of similar. It wasn't a specific title, but it was different storylines or different published releases within DC Comics that were considered under the umbrella Elseworlds, which were also alternate storylines. So even on the cover there, you can see there's a Wild West version of Justice League characters, and we have like Kid Flash, who's a quick draw artist, you know, and a lot of other characters, a different reimagining of Green Lanterns there. And so we're really excited because for many years these have been characters we've wanted to incorporate, but they're sort of off the wall. So we figured we'd take a crack at it this year. We of course have some new product lines that just came out. We did a Wonder Woman set here. Of course, there's the Wonder Woman movie that just came out, which is fantastic. This is based on the comics, but of course we wanted to feature Wonder Woman now that she's had her own feature film. And going along with that as well, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We have figures based on that movie.
You guys are so timely. How do you do it?
Yeah, we want to be right in step with what both Marvel and DC are doing, and then we also have starting about 2 years ago, we released our first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set, and now we're coming out with this new one, Shredder, or just came out with Shredder's Return. That's our newest set, and we are also up at the top here. There's a Undead HeroClix, so this is actually going to be something new. It's unlicensed, so we're just doing sort of generic monsters that are going to be in the HeroClix gameplay and rules set. So you can play
undead fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You can play, zombies, you know, within themselves, zombies, skeletons, vampires, werewolves, things like that. And so you can play them, you know, against each other, or mix them in with your superheroes and turtles and other things as well. Moving over to Dice Masters. Dice Masters is our dice building game. We came out with Dice Masters a couple years ago. It's grown in popularity, and we've been very happy with how it's been going. We of course, Marvel and DC. These are the latest releases here that we have for Deadpool, and then also Batman for DC. And we've done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well. And then we're doing something new here with these team packs. And these are sort of pre-built teams right within a small box, 24 cards, 16 dice, and you can play them as sort of a themed team right out of the package. And our newest starter sets for Marvel and DC. For Marvel, the Iron Man and War Machine starter set, and for DC, the Superman and Wonder Woman starter set. The Iron Man War Machine one is out now. The Superman Wonder Woman comes out next month in July. We've also done Dice Masters of Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons, the most recent set is this Faerun Under Siege. We have the Gravity Feed, we have the starter set, we have the collector box. And then in the center here, we have these draft packs. This is something new. This is a new release that we're going to do, where this actually is a pack that has essentially the equivalent of 10 of the booster packs that you'd find in the Gravity Feed in a small box, which makes it great for playing in a draft format. That you can open the box and you can draft out of that box without having to open 10 individual packs. So coming around to this side here, we have our D&D Icons of the Realms here, the starter set. These are all our D&D miniatures line that's called part of our miniatures line. The Unpainted Minis is a new product line that we're doing. This is going to be Wave 1, which just came out this month, actually last month. And this is a new product line for us that they come in 2 figures in a pack, or if it's a larger figure, it's one figure in a pack, like that Griffin and the Trolls, larger figures. They are pre-primed, and they are we have done what we call deep cut details, so they are very paint friendly, that even amateur painters can, because they're already primed, you just pull them right out of the pack, you can start painting them, and because it has that really deep cut detail into it, that even if you put on a little bit too much paint, you're not losing that detail of the sculpt itself. So we're really excited about this product line that we're doing. That we're starting off with a lot of the real sort of iconic characters and monsters and character classes. We are also in the packs for the character classes. You have a lower level version of the character and a higher level version of the character. So you'll notice, like the Human Ranger, there's 2 sculpts. Well, the weapons are a little bit different in the other one. They might have some more armor, or different details to them. So that as you're playing in a campaign and your character levels up, well, you can change your miniature to reflect that. Oh, okay. Another thing that's pretty important to point out here is we've done, for the character classes, we've done a very healthy mix of both male and female versions of the classes. So if you are playing female characters, then you will have more access in this product line to having miniatures that represent your character. We can jump down to here. This is our Pathfinder line, so very similar to what I just talked about. We have both pre-painted, which are the brick packages in the back that are the blind packs. The most recent sets that we've come out with are the Deadly Foes and Crowns of Fangs. And then for Paizo and Pathfinder battles, we are also doing our deep cut miniatures here that are the unpainted, pre-primed miniatures as well. Okay. So you're hedging your bets. You got Pathfinder, D&D. We're covering all the bases. And moving off of fantasy, we can go into up into the stars here and the galaxy with Star Trek. Star Trek Attack Wing is our miniatures space combat game for Star Trek. We are actually coming up on, well, what just released was Wave 30. Wow. It's amazing that we've gotten that far. And then our next one to come out will be the 3 ships on the left-hand side, which is Wave 31. So continuing along, adding new ships into the game.
So Attack Wing's still going strong. That's great.
Attack Wing's still going strong. We're really excited that we've started adding a lot more of the metallic paints, and we've adding more of the detail into the sculpts. So the sculpts have just, as we've been going throughout the different waves, we've been able to make a lot of improvements with really making these ships pop.
Now I hear you guys got some board games too.
Yeah, let's talk board games. So, as I mentioned before, we brought on Zeb Schlesinger, who is heading up our board game division now, and he's come out recently with there's a number of games that are coming out and some that just came out in the last few months. So let's start down at the bottom here. We had a couple games that came out within the past year. Dice Stars, Burke's Gambit, Blank White Dice, and there's another one called Rock Paper Wizards, which we'll see in a second. These 4 came out. They're small box games, and a variety of different gameplay patterns. Dice Stars there's no real theme to it. It's a dice game. There's a scoring mechanism that you're trying to get match sets of either colors or symbols or numbers on the dice. And I think it's a game that's very accessible for even just, if you have a family that's not necessarily gamers, but they like games like a Yahtzee or something like that. Once you learn the scoring system of that game, it's very accessible for a lot of people. It's also something you can actually just sort of play solo and just try to get the best score that you can out of it. Burke's Gambit is a deduction game, social deduction game, but there's a twist in this one. So the story of Burke's Gambit here is that you are on a space mission and someone gets infected with an alien. But the twist here is in most deduction games, if you're the quote unquote bad guy or what have you. In this case, you don't know. And people can find out, but you actually never get to know what your status is. And over the course of the game, it can actually change. So the alien can jump around to different people. And there's also a time limit because you need to try to figure this out before you reach Earth. And it's not a set number of turns. It's depending on dice roll to see how many turns the game lasts. So there's a little bit of a frenetic energy there of you don't know when the game's going to end, and you need to figure things out beforehand. So a social deduction game, but with a twist in that you don't have all the perfect information. Blank White Dice is a game where you get to draw different symbols on dice, which gives you different abilities when you actually roll that face of the dice. So it changes each time you play it. There's different cards that go out that tell you the symbols that you can draw on the dice, and if you're going to roll that symbol, then you get to do different things. So a game that never is the same thing twice. So some of the other board games that we're coming out with coming up soon here. DiceBot Mega Fun here actually just came out this month, so that is available. That is a dice game where you are building robots. So imagine you are in a challenge where you need to build a killer robot, and you get sent into a junkyard. And you need to go scramble for scrap pieces of weaponry. Well, all these dice are rolled into the middle of the table, and you have to grab dice to build your robot. So it's sort of a frantic feel of building your robot, and you have to grab those dice that you want before the other people at the table do.
I believe I've seen that show on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, it's very similar. Actually, there was. Yeah, you're right. There was a show about that. So similar in that regard, but we're doing it with dice, and you have your little robot card that you're putting the dice on. So you have to grab something for your head and your arms and your legs. And then you have a combat sequence, and whose robot will win at the end of combat. Right. Sidereal Confluence is a game that's coming out.
I was wondering how to pronounce that.
Yes, there you go. Sidereal this is a game that comes out in August, and this has been getting a lot of praise here at the show. We have demos in the demo hall. This is a game of negotiation, trade negotiation. It's set out in space. You take the role of a different race of beings. They each have their different benefits or abilities that they can do. But you're all trying to vie for resources, and it's all about negotiation and trading with the other races. That's the general gist of it, but it has a very smooth game mechanics to it, and wonderful gameplay. I don't know that I can really go too much into it just looking at the front of the box.
It looks like it may be a Gen Con release?
Yes, yeah, official release. We do have it here. We have copies here that we're selling, but you'll see it in stores starting in August. The Expanse comes out in September. This is based off of the television series, and this is a game where you get to play as one of the different factions that are featured in the television show, and we're really happy to work with this license because it's a wonderful television show that has a great fan base and wonderful gameplay to go along with it. The next one here is Deadline.
Oh, wait, The Expanse, that's September?
September, yeah. This Deadline comes out next month in July as well. And Deadline is a sort of a gumshoe, private detective. You're trying to solve a crime. And you have to, in order to solve the crime, you have to play cards which have matching symbols and create a string of cards using matching symbols. And once you get the prerequisite that you're needed to collect a clue, then you'll be able to collect a clue, read it, and move on to either the next person that you need to interrogate or a location you need to go to. This is a game that it comes with a number of different storylines or case files that you need to solve, and then we're looking at in the future we can create expansion packs that have new case files in it for you to solve. But we also feel like this will be a great game where people will be able to come up with their own sort of fan-made stories and cases using the mechanics and materials that are in the game.
Do you have the same kind of noir artwork throughout?
Yes. So very similar to what you see on the box cover there is what the art and the cards is as well.
Yeah, I love that style, hard-boiled detective.
Oh yeah, and some great names of the characters and things. It's a fun game. Fantasy Realm. So Fantasy Realm comes out in August. This is a great little quick, fast card game that's really simple. This one that we're coming out with is fantasy themed, but I think that we have the potential of doing this as a different theme as well. The gameplay is basically that there is a certain number of turns, and you have a hand of hand of cards, and you discard a card, and then either pick one up randomly off the top of the deck or off the discard pile that someone else discarded, and you're just at the end of the game trying to put together your best hand of cards. On the cards, you get different points for combos. So you might have on the card that says, well, if you have the dragon, and you also have you have a red dragon and you get a green dragon, then you get bonus points for having multiple dragons. Or you have the dragon tamer, and he gives you bonus points for how many dragons you have in your hand. So you are basically just trying to maximize your hand by the end of the game. It's as I said, very simple game. That's pretty much the rules of the game. that discard a card, draw a card, and that's your turn. So you can really churn through a lot of games very quickly. A game only takes 15-20 minutes, and a lot of fun. Star Trek Frontiers. Star Trek Frontiers came out a couple months ago. It's available on the marketplace. This is actually a reskin of Mage Knight.
Really?
With some updates and a few new mechanics, but it's kind of Mage Knight in space, using the Star Trek theme and the characters. There's a few different new mechanics in it, so it's not an exact port over, but it works really well, and really gets the flavor of Star Trek across in the gameplay. I mean, Mage Knight is one of my favorite games. It's an absolutely fantastic game. It's very in depth, but it all flows together very nicely, and that pulls through in the Star Trek version as well. So really, what it comes down to is if you're more of a fantasy person, well, maybe you want to pick up Mage Knight. If you're more of a space themed person, well, then you might be interested in this Star Trek Frontiers. I think I missed Tower of London and Banishing.
Yeah.
Down here, Tower of London is a area control game that's themed around Tower of London. That you're placing beefeaters to control different locations of the Tower of London.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Banishing is sort of Lovecraftian It's mostly it's card play that you are. Monsters are appearing on cards randomly that are drawn off a deck, but then there's also spell cards that you have to match sets to banish the monsters. But you're trying to collect those sets, but as you collect those sets and new cards come out, well, it might add more monsters. So you have to try, it's sort of a race against the game, if you will.
Right.
So take a look for those. As I said, we're very excited to have Zev on board to work on our board games. And
Yeah, definitely.
We have our other product lines with HeroClix and Dice Masters, but look for more board games from Wizkids in the near future.
Oh my gosh, you guys are just moving along, that's
Yeah.
for sure. All right, well, Scott, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to me. All right.
It means that we need more power.